Hello, hello, hello. Here we go again with our next unit. This is the third unit, and I think this is going to be the last unit for the summer school. ¿Ok? Muchachos, vamos ahora con la próxima unidad, la tercera unidad, y creo que esta es la última unidad de la escuela de verano. Today we're going to start factoring. The first method that we're going to learn is factoring using the greatest common factor. That means GCF, okay? First method, factoring using greatest common factor, or GCF. So, muchachos, el primer método que vamos a aprender se llama factorizando usando el máximo común divisor, ¿ok? En inglés es GCF, en español es MCD, máximo común divisor. So, como siempre, para calentarnos, okay, el problema de calentamiento es el siguiente. Okay, kids, look, now, as a warm-up, remember, I plan the lessons as if we are in the classroom, okay? So we always give you a warm-up problem, that has something to do with the lesson, okay? So the first thing I asked you was to find the greatest common factor of the given terms, okay? I'll give you an example. I want you to find the GCF of 18 and 24. Okay, like the old school, we used to learn, by creating a list of factors of each number, okay? In this case, we're going to create a list of factors of 18 and factors of 24. So we're starting with 18, okay? Remember, factors are numbers that when multiply them together will give you the number, okay? So for instance, we know that 1 times 1 times 18 equals 18. 2 times 9 equals 18. 3 times 6 equals 18. And then we start going backwards. 6 times 3, 9 times 2, 18 times 1. That means all these numbers are factors of 18. We do the same thing with 24. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. If you notice, 24 has more factors than 18. But the idea is to find the greatest common factor, the GCF. That means the larger number that divides evenly into each term. And in this case, the GCF is 16. They both have 1, they both have 2, they both have 3, and they both have 6. So because this is the largest, okay, so that is the GCF of 18 and 24. Now, what do we need to learn that? Because when we start in factoring, okay, you have to find the GCF of the terms first, okay? It can be a binomial, a trinomial, and whatever, other polynomials after trinomials. But let me just rephrase this in Spanish. Niños, para encontrar el máximo común divisor es el número mayor que divide a los números que estamos buscando. En este caso, estamos buscando el máximo común divisor de 18 y de 24. En los tiempos antes, ok, uno buscaba el máximo común divisor creando una lista de factores. Factores son números que multiplicados les den el número que andamos, con el que estamos trabajando. So, en este caso, mi primer número es el 18. So, los factores serían 1 por 18 me da 18. 2 por 9, 18. 3 por 6, 18. Y luego se empiezan a repetir los números. 6 por 3, 9 por 2, 18 por 1. Recuerden que la multiplicación es conmutativa. Entonces, todos estos números son factores de 18. Luego hacemos lo mismo con los factores del 24. ¿Ok? 1 por 24 es 24. 2 por 12 es 24. 3 por 8 es 24. 4 por 6 es 24. 24 tiene más factores que 18. Y a veces pasa así, muchachos. A veces un número tiene más factores que otro, ¿verdad? Pero, como estamos buscando el número mayor que divida exactamente al 18 y al 24, la respuesta es 6. Porque 1 divide a los 2, 2 divide a los 2, 3 divide a los 2 y 6 también. Pero el máximo común divisor es el número mayor, ¿ok? Yo les voy a hacer la hoja también en español en la lección. So, aquí les dice el número mayor que divide exactamente a cada término, ¿ok? So, también yo se les enseño a los alumnos míos usando la calculadora cómo buscar el máximo común divisor, ¿verdad? Pero acuérdense, como En la clase tenemos más tiempo, yo les pedí que hiciera una lista de factores, pero como estamos en Summer School y no hay mucho tiempo, vamos a la calculadora. Yo aquí les puse los pasos de cómo buscarlos, ¿ok? So, déjenme regresar ahora al inglés. Ok, niños, so we're supposed to know what the greatest common factor is, because now that we're going to factor, we have to find the GCF first, okay? It can be a GCF of a binomial, a trinomial, or any other polynomial, okay? So in this case, because we're not in the classroom, okay, and we don't have that much time, so I'm going to show you how to find the GCF in the calculator. All the steps are right here for you in English, and I also going to upload the notes in Spanish, okay, so you can have this also in Spanish. So if I ask you to find the GCF of 4 and 12, instead of doing a list of the factors of 4 and the list of factors of 12, you could just go to the calculator and do this, okay? Let me just see, because I want you to see what button I'm pressing. The first button you're going to press is the button of math, okay? So you're going to do math. Oh, let me turn it on first. That will help. Math. Then we're going to go to the right, and it comes out with numbers. It's highlighted. The only thing you have to do now is press number 9, okay? And when you press number 9, this is what comes out in the window. GCD is the same thing as GCF, all right? So now you have to enter the numbers. All the steps are here, separated by a comma, all right? So I'm going to write, I'm going to type 4, okay? Here's number 4. Then the comma symbol, which is here above the 7, comma, and 12, close parentheses, okay? That's how you do it. And you do enter. And you see that the GCF there is 4. So the GCF of these two numbers is 4. Now what is the GCF for 20 and 25? I know the GCF for 20 and 25 is going to be 5. But if you're not sure, here we go again. Math, to the right, number 9, okay? And type the numbers. 20, comma, right, the symbol above the 7, 25, close parentheses, enter. And the GCF is 5. All right, so the only thing is, guys, sometimes you're going to have a trinomial, but you can only do 2 numbers at once. You cannot do 3. So you will do the GCF of 2, and whatever GCF you get from that number, you're going to do it with the other term to find the GCF of 3 numbers. Okay? So, muchachos, algunas veces les doy un trinomio, so para buscar el máximo común divisor de 3 números, la calculadora solo le hace 2 números a la vez. So, ustedes van a encontrar el máximo divisor de los primeros 2 números, y ese máximo común divisor que le den lo van a usar con el siguiente término que les hace falta para buscar el máximo común divisor de los 3 números. ¿Ok? So, cuando lleguemos a un ejemplo de eso les voy a explicar. So, continuemos. Now, if you see here, guys, now we have numbers and variables. And I explained to you here what is the GCF of variables. So, if the terms have the same variable, okay, it can be with different exponents. The GCF is the variable with the small exponent, okay? The GCF is the variable with the smallest exponent. So let me say this in Spanish. So, muchachos, cuando tenemos monomios que incluyen variables, ¿verdad? Que hay 2 monomios. La variable, el máximo común divisor de las variables es la letra o la variable que tiene el exponente más pequeño, ¿ok? Acuérdense eso. Ustedes van a buscar el máximo común divisor de los números en la calculadora, y el de la variable va a ser la variable con el exponente más pequeño. So let's do letter C. Letter C, we can find the GCF of the numbers only, okay? Then we worry about the X after. Remember the steps, right? Math, to the right, number 9. So my first number is 32, comma, 40, close parenthesis, enter. So the GCF of the numbers of the coefficients there will be 8. So el máximo común divisor de 32 y 40 es 8. So we're going to write 8. Now, they both have the x in common, right? The exponent of this one is 1. So we have x to the 1 and x to the second. And my definition says that the variable with the smallest exponent is the one that becomes the GCF. So the GCF here should be 8x, right? Let's go with the next one. We have to find the GCF of 12xy and 36x. So let's look for the GCF for 24 and 36. I know the GCF is 12, but if you don't know, because some of you can say, oh, mister, it's 6, because 6 divides 24 and 36, but that's not the greatest. Remember, it has to be the greatest, the larger number. Muchachos, acuérdense que ustedes pueden decir, mister, pero el 6, 24 se divide entre 6, 36 se divide entre 6, pero 6 no es el máximo común divisor, tienen que buscar el número mayor. So, para que estén seguros, usen la calculadora, ¿ok? So, 24 y 36. So, vamos a math to the right, number 9, and type 24, comma, 36, enter. And you see, it's 12, like I told you. Now, if you notice, they both have x's, all right? And the x here is to the first power, and here is to the first power. So, here it doesn't matter. Just take one x out. Now, this one has a y, that doesn't have a y, so the y is not part of the GCF. So, aquí, muchachos, las x tienen 1 como exponente de los dos, so entonces se saca la x cualquiera de las dos. Ahora, este término tiene y, pero este no, por lo tanto, y no es parte del máximo común divisor. Los dos tienen que tener las mismas variables para que se pueda sacar, ¿ok? Y la última, ¿ok? Yo no voy a perder tiempo. La última aquí, yo sé que el máximo común divisor del número es que es 6, ¿ok? Y ustedes pueden hacer en la calculadora. Entonces, los dos tienen a al cuadrado y a la primera. So, la que voy a sacar va a ser a la primera. B al cubo y B al cuadrado. Entonces, saca B al cuadrado. Okay, guys? The GCF here is 6, okay? And they both have A and they both have B. So, A to the second, A to the first. So, the GCF will be A to the first. You don't have to put the 1. B to the cube, B squared. So the GCF, the small exponents is B squared, so you get a big square. So that is how you find the GCF. Why did I ask you to do that? Because now that we're going to factor, the first thing you have to do is find the GCF of the binomial of the trinomial. ¿Por qué les pregunté que buscar el máximo común divisor? Porque ahora que vamos a factorizar, ustedes tienen que buscar el máximo común divisor primero, ¿ok? So aquí están los steps y aquí está un ejemplo hecho para ustedes. So guys, here's one example already done for you. I ask you to factor 8x to the cube minus 12x. The first thing you have to do is find the GCF, okay? Lo primero que tienen que hacer, muchachos, es encontrar el máximo común divisor, alright? So, si ustedes ponen la calculadora como lo hice yo, les va a dar 4. Y lo que tienen en común es la x y se saca la x con el exponente más pequeño que es x a la 1. So guys, the first thing you have to do is find the GCF. If you put it on the calculator, following these steps, you're going to find 4, all right? So what do they have in common? They have the x's. Remember, that's to the cube and that's to the first power. So you always take the one with the smallest exponents. So the GCF of this binomial is 4x. Now, once you do that, you have to divide every term by the GCF. Every term by the GCF. So look what I did. 8x squared divided by 4x minus 12x divided by 4x. So we have to divide each one by 4x. So cuando encuentren el máximo común divisor, muchachos, tienen que dividir cada término entre el máximo común divisor. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. When we have variables, when we divide variables, we subtract the exponents. Remember that, we learned that in class. Cuando dividimos variables, muchachos, los exponentes se restan. So tengo 2x aquí y aquí 1, 2 menos 1 me haría nada más una x. Menos 2 entre 4 es 3 y estas x se cancelan. So guys, again, 4 divided by 8 divided by 4 is 2. X squared divided by x means 2 minus 1, which is 1. So that's what x becomes x to the 1. You have to put the 1. Minus 12 divided by 4 is 3. And the x and this x cancel out. Because x minus x is x to the 0. And x to the 0 equals 1. Once you have found, this is going to be your first factor and that's going to be your second factor. So your answer should be the GCF goes outside and whatever you have left goes in parentheses. So the combination of this and that will be the answer. So muchachos, la combinación del máximo común divisor y lo que sobra después de que dividimos se escribe de esta forma y esta es la respuesta. Okay, so follow that example, follow this example and also follow these rules to find the GCF. Again, for the kids who speak Spanish, I'm gonna add this worksheet also in Spanish. Niños, esta hoja se la va a poner también en español para que ustedes la puedan ver en español. So let's do some problems now. This is how the homework is going to look like. We factoring, remember. We have to find the GCF of 8x minus 8y. So the GCF of 8 and 8 is going to be 8 because you can divide 8 by 8, right? If you're not sure, what do you have to do? You go to the calculator, math to the right, number 9, and you're going to type 8, comma 8, close parenthesis, and you see the GCF is 8. Now, remember, they don't have anything in common. This has X, that has Y, nothing in common. Variables are different. Las variables, muchachos, son diferentes, o no tienen ninguna variable en común, por lo tanto, las variables se van a quedar igual. So, once you have found the GCF, what do? We're going to divide each term by the GCF. Una vez encontramos el máximo común divisor, ¿qué hacemos? Dividimos cada término entre el máximo común divisor. So, 8 entre 8 es 1, X, no tienen que poner el 1, menos 8 entre 8 es 1, pero está la Y, so XY. Este es lo que me resulta de la división, so I'm going to put my GCF there. So when you divide, you get X minus Y, which is your second factor, and the GCF, you put this in parentheses, and you bring the GCF to the front, and that should be the answer. And if you distribute this, you're going to get the same problem. 8 times X will give you X, A minus Y will give you minus AY. 18, number 2. GCF of 18 and 27. I know the GCF of 18 and 27 is 9, but if you don't know what you have to do, calculator, math to the right, number 9, type 18, comma, 27, and enter, and this is my GCF, 9. All right? You have to have a calculator like this. If you're going to use your cell phone, you have to just probably use a timetable or just, I don't know, maybe you can use one calculator from the internet. Muchachos, para buscar el máximo común divisor tienen que tener este tipo de calculadoras. Si no tienen estos, el celular no se los puede hacer, ¿ok? So tienen que buscar otra manera o una opción de conseguir una de estas calculadoras. Right, let's continue. So, I know the GCF is 9. Remember, G, H, different variables, so they have nothing in common. G y H son diferentes, so no tienen ninguna letra en común. Por lo tanto, el GCF is only 9. So we're going to divide by 9. We're going to divide by 9. What do I get? 18 divided by 9 is 2. G minus 27 divided by 9 is 3H. Put this in parentheses and just bring the GCF to the front, and that should be the answer. So that should be an easy homework. Now remember, when you have a variable like that, the coefficient is 1, okay? It's always 1. So the GCF here is going to be 1. Now, what do they have in common? They have the x's, x squared and x to the first power. So you always take out the x, the variable with the small exponent. So the GCF of the variable is going to be x. Siempre se saca la variable con el exponente pequeño. So el máximo común divisor aquí es x. O 1x, pero no es necesario poner el 1 porque se entiende que el 1 está ahí. So I'm going to divide by x. Remember, when I divide variables, the exponents get subtracted. Cuando estamos dividiendo variables, los exponentes se restan. So, 2 menos 1 me queda una x. You don't have to put the 1 on top. If you put it, it's not going to hurt you. Now, x divided by x is what? It's 1. It's not 0, it's 1. So now, you put that in parentheses and put the x. And you have your answer right there. And if you distribute, x times x will give you x squared, x times 1 will give you 1x. Let's continue with 4. Okay. Guys, I'm not going to waste any time. You know how to find the GCF. The GCF is going to be 4. Because 12 can be divided by 4. So I don't even have to do it in the calculator, but if you're not sure, do it in your calculator. All right? So it's 4. What do they have in common? They both have y. Y squared and y to the third power. So this one is the small exponent, so you get the y squared out. All right? So what do we do now? We're going to divide both terms by 4y squared. So let's divide. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Y squared divided by y squared is y to the 0, which is mean 1. So just cancel out. Now 4 divided by 4 is 1. Okay. Now y to the cube minus y squared is going to be, we use 1y. So you put this in parentheses and you bring the 4y squared to the front, and that should be your answer. Remember guys, you can't have nothing in common inside the parentheses. If you have something in common, that means you haven't factored